¿Qué pasó, everybody? Welcome to Snail Mail.
This is the fun segment where we listen to you guys on the air, semi-live, how about unscripted?
Unscripted,
Unfiltered, straight talk. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. We have 22 voicemails.
Oh my gosh. Wow. All right. You guys don't want us to slow down.
Nope. We're doing so good. The first one though may not be for us.
Was it the spam one?
Suspected spam, and it's 3 seconds long, so I don't think it's going to be anything. So,
okay, dead air.
I'm guessing we could play it and see what happens. Here we go. Yep, dead air.
Nothing.
So nothing at all. Yeah, man, we get to listen to voicemails today.
Yes, we do.
From listeners and callers and all sorts of fun people out there. So we are going to do that today. Hopefully you're all okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
You are?
Yeah.
That's good.
I am. So who are we starting with?
We are going to start with a 707 number.
Oh, okay.
Let's see
I'm
if
going
they
with spaghetti.
left a name. Louisville Justin Cox from Chico.
Oh, okay.
We met him at the brewery.
We did?
I believe it was him.
Which brewery?
The one we took over.
Oh, okay.
Highwater.
Highwater
Brewing.
Well, he's called in a few times too.
That's true. He called in 3 times.
In a row, right here?
3 times in a row,
Oh my
almost
gosh.
3 minutes each time.
All right, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. This is no longer the Zach from Oklahoma podcast.
That's the Justin Cox from Chico. It says it's a funny story.
Let's go.
All right, here we go.
Hello, Snail Trail. This is Justin Cox from Chico. I wanted to kind of tell a kind of funny story that happened.
Story time.
Was on YouTube and I stumbled on this video about a trail review of the Peligreen Jeep Trail that's actually kind of up in the Sierras above Chico. You can actually get to one part of it from a Forest Service road out of Forest Ranch. And I did the trail review, and I'm like, that looks like it's doable with my pretty much stock Toyota pickup. And so I ran up one night, ended up camping at a random camp spot, just kind of out of Forest Ranch. And then the next day I did part of the trail out to Paynes Creek. And on Onyx, it was a blue trail, like 5 out of 10. And, I did a good chunk of it, and I get back, and I was, it was absolutely gorgeous. It's part of Ishi Wilderness, goes right by there, really, really pretty. But I was kind of like, man, this wasn't much more than a Forest Service road, and it's rated like a 5 out of 10, and I was expecting more. And so I go back to the YouTube video, and lo and behold, it was your video, Jimmy, from back in the day on some of your early YouTube stuff. And so I was going to call in and kind of joke about, that was kind of really was a Jeep trail. It was easy. And then I read the comments and I find out on your video, and I found out both you and I did the easy portion of it and not the hard part. And I've now recently talked to someone that's done the other side, and it actually is a lot more technical. So yeah, you and I both did the simple side of it, and I just thought it was hilarious that I was going to call in and talk about trail ratings, and then I find out it was your video also. So yeah, I want to go back up there. Sadly, a lot of that area just burned in the park fire, and I've heard from a friend that the bridge that connects Forest Ranch over to that area is completely destroyed and impassable. So you have to go in from the Red Bluff, Paynes Creek side only now. Not from my area. But anyway, I wanted to call in and talk about that funny story. Keep it up. I may call back in about another trail rating issue I just ran into. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
That's funny.
There you go, man. Giving bad info all over the place, Jimmy.
Well, I'm a little confused because I don't think I called it that easy. I did say it was fairly easy. It was flat, but there was a lot of like water runoff, crevasses.
Okay.
And my buddy was in a stock 4th or 5th gen 4Runner, and he popped a tire up once or twice.
Yeah.
Just because you have to cross one way and cross the other way to get up these hills.
Mm-hmm.
And those crevasses made him go at some funny angles where Bobcat walked right up it. It wasn't an issue.
Mm-hmm.
It was also I would say it's very overgrown. Like it would have been perfect for side-by-side, but for our semi full size vehicles, right? For a full vehicle, for a regular vehicle, a cabbed vehicle, there was scratches, Sierra scratches, Sierra pinstriping happening in that general area. So yeah, I remember it, but that was 7 years ago now at this point or something. So, I mean, maybe they even bulldozed it since then and flattened it out more, made it a little easier than it was.
If it was up in the park fire, it's very possible.
Yeah. So I'm not sure, but yeah, that was a fun video. I know that we drove up to the top of a mountain and ate lunch and then drove back down to the bottom of it and camped at the bottom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Your videos are still getting around.
Around. I did want to I don't want to dive too deep into this because I know this will just be these 3 episodes if we stay on this topic. But, I know that a lot of people out there really dislike trail review videos because then you're promoting and showing videos of places that people are going to go. But just as this example, it's a place that I highlighted a bunch of years ago. It's probably got a few thousand views on YouTube. I don't know how many people have watched my video and wanted to go out to that location. But because I've done that, I feel that I'm spreading the knowledge out there for everybody and sharing those trail reviews out there and showing people what's possible or where to go. And it's in a way relieving some of the stress on some of the major trails that have problems because now there's a new area, a new trail or something new to try. So I don't know. I think my 2 cents is that trail review videos are a positive thing.
I think they're a positive thing for sure. We've talked about this every once in a while, bring it up on the podcast of geotagging places and whatnot. Social media is here to stay. Technology, internet, information flow, quick information flow is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So you can either use that to your advantage or fight it, not use it to your advantage and watch shit happen anyways. Right. If you don't talk about a location, and you care about that location is eventually going to get leaked out. It's going to happen. Whether it's you or somebody else, it's going to happen. And if you're not the one to take action on leaking it out so that you can leak it in such a way and talk about the location in such a way that talks about education and proper usage and responsible usage of those locations, then somebody else is going to come and do it. And they're just going to be like, yeah, come on party here. We're just bring all your beer cans and somebody will clean up the trash later after we leave. It's cleaned up by the time I get there next time anyways. So somebody picks it up. That's the stuff that people are going to see if you don't take the responsibility to talk about it responsibly to start.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's how Jimmy and I feel about this problem. The problem is not geotagging places. The problem is not the people geotagging places. The problem is not having the proper education about how to responsibly visit these places.
Yeah, true.
So you can geotag places all you want. Just make sure you're educating people about responsible usage at the same time. Yep. Use your power for the good of the recreating communities.
Yeah.
So
I know that I did a trail review or a video on Fordyce Lake, and I went with Brennan back in the day, and we wheeled down just that Rattlesnake Road and went down to the lake and camped out by the lake. And we went on a small hike to the waterfall and showed off the lake. And on the way out, there was a campsite just full of trash.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And I just said, this is disgusting. This is horrible. I hate it. Like, this is not what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I propped the camera up on a tripod and I cleaned up their campsite. And I don't know how many comments I got on that video with people going, thank you for bringing this to attention. Thank you for saying this. Thank you for cleaning up.
Yep.
And that's to some extent, I will argue with you that showing dirtiness and showing irresponsibility is a bad thing. But I also will argue that it needs to be done so that people can learn. So it's a sort of a double-edged sword.
Right. And that's, we've talked with Wheel Every Weekend about that.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's a good thing that Tread Lightly does. They bring awareness to these Tread Lightly principles that people should be adopting. I think we've come a long way that the off-roading community is pretty much like 99%.
Yeah.
Maybe not that much, maybe 95% on board with Tread Lightly principles, right? Unless you go down to KOH for some reason. But it's I think that a majority of the community is very much on terms with that concept. And really it comes down to it's typically other people other than the wheeling community. Usually from my experience out on the trails, it seems to be the wheeling community is the one that's picking up a lot of the stuff and solving a lot of the problems. So
yeah, I remember driving past that group, and I don't remember at this point in time, I don't remember what their rig was or if they were even like an off-roader. I just remember they were young. It was just they were like maybe 18 to 21 year olds, just probably out having a fun time, night, partying it up. And then by the time we rolled out, they were already gone.
Bummer.
So, I think, this was clearly an education.
I was gonna say that's an education scenario. Yeah.
So anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
Justin called back.
He did.
And probably talk more about trail review ratings information.
Yeah.
Cool.
Here we go.
Hey, it's Justin Cox from Chico again. Recently my mother-in-law got a 2021 Jeep Wrangler 4-door, and she got the hybrid, and it's the Sahara, which is a bummer because it doesn't have the lockers, but and it's pretty much bone stock. It was just a small crawler before she bought it. Never driven off-road, still has street tires on it, but it was, under 30,000 miles on it. She got a pretty good deal. And, we've been driving it around, been really impressed with the power and everything with the hybrid system. It's really cool setup, and we eventually want to probably lift it. I'm going to try and see how big of a tire I can just kind of shove under it for now. I'm hoping I can get a big 32 on it. Once you can afford tires. But my wife was out of town about a month ago, so her and I decided to load up all three of my daughters, and we went out to the other side of the valley from Chico out to the OHV area out in Stony Ford, which I had flown over inspecting power lines, but I'd never been on the ground down there to check it out. So we drove out there, and we were driving there's mainly a fire road that goes through like the middle of it that eventually goes to like Clear Lake. It was on X as kind of a, I think, a 5 out of 10, but it's not bad. And then off of that, there's a bunch of side, like Forest Service roads, and some of them are like ATV only trails, dirt bike only trails. And so we kind of went on a couple offshoots of some of those, and it looked like one of them connected down to another road, and I kind of have a good or bad habit of like trying to go in one way and come out another way and do a loop instead of doubling back. And so I was like, yeah, let's try to go out towards this other road. And a lot of the trails had different kind of markings having to do with like dirt bikes. They were kind of color coded, and most of them had writing on them. And the trail we ended up kind of keeping going down, it had like a black logo, but there was no writing. And I should have known from kind of knowing ski stuff that it was probably the hardest one, but it was really easy. It was just basically a narrower Forest Service road, but there was no obstacles. And so we keep heading down that, and it was kind of foggy down in the valley below us, and we're heading down what turned out to be a ridge, and all of a sudden there starts to be like water bars, and it gets pretty steep, but with the fog below us, it was deceiving on.
Nope.
3
3 minutes.
Sorry, Justin. Should we let him finish his story?
Yeah, I'm interested.
All right. I'm all intrigued with the fog now.
Yeah. Good good cliffhanger.
Literally.
Hi, Jeff Cox again, trying to finish this story. So it keeps getting steeper, can't tell, and I bottomed out the Jeep on one of the water bars, and so on the next little pull off for the water bar, I just park, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get out and walk and figure out what's going on. And once I got out, I was like, oh, we made a big mistake. Like, it is really, really steep. And I'm like, I don't think this is a good idea. So I get back in the Jeep, and I had it in like auto 4-wheel drive, which is basically all-wheel drive. And so I go to put it in reverse, and it won't let me spin the tires or anything. So then I put it in 4 high, turn off traction control, still won't let me spin tires, won't move. And I'm, now I'm stuck on this hillside, and I'm just like, oh, this is not good. And of course I'm out there alone, because that's another bad habit I got to stop doing. And so luckily I throw it into 4 low, and it finally lets me spin tires and get out of there. And luckily it was like a pretty hard packed, like shale rock, and had a lot of grip. And but I realized I tried to kind of turn around, realized that wasn't going to work, so I ended up having to back up this ridge probably about a quarter of a mile until I could turn around and safely get us off the mountain. I randomly kind of found some people in my area on Facebook that wanted to go hit some trails. So we went back out to the same area 2 weekends ago, mainly just stayed on the main trail. I found some snow this time, had some fun with the snow. One guy had a first-gen 4Runner, and the other guy had a really nicely built older 2-door Jeep. And so we went out there, spent the day, and then at the end of the day, me and the guy in the Jeep decided to drive around to that road that we had previously tried to get to, and I found where this trail came down the ridge. And man, I'm so glad we didn't keep going, because it was really steep, and then towards the bottom, it actually kind of went off the side of the ridge and made a kind of an off-camber turn, and then seemed really narrow too. And so I think we would have gotten stuck somewhere on that ridge and not made it out of there without help from someone. So anyway, be careful on trail ratings. And at the bottom, the trail was black, but then it said most difficult. So at the top, the most difficult part of the sign was missing. Part of the thing that confused me. Anyway, keep it up. Talk to you later. Bye.
Interesting. So a 6 out of 10 trail rating was that he said?
This wasn't the Peligreen Jeep Trail.
No, this is a different one.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought he said like in his.
Was it 6 out of 10?
Second?
That he said?
I thought he said like 6 out of 10.
Well, maybe that was the first road or something. Yeah. And then this one became more difficult. Was
the most difficult.
Most difficult. Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be said there about taking your gut into the decision and saying like, you know what, we're not in the right spot. We're not in the right vehicle. We're, in a place we probably shouldn't be. Let's reevaluate this decision. And I think that was very smart.
I think that's one of the things that you and I have talked about in a list of stuff to take and not take off-roading.
A friend
was one of the things you take.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that we mentioned you don't take is your pride.
Yeah.
Leave your pride at home, right? And
sure.
And that's kind of the point. If you get into a situation where you're like, okay, I'm probably in over my head here. Let's recognize this. You recognize it by being humble and understanding what your limitations are and what you're probably getting yourself into. And then just being like, that was a good day. Let's go back now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can, you take, leave your pride at home. You can always go back another day.
Exactly.
So true that. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Justin. Yeah. I respect trail ratings. I don't know. Is that the sort of a moral of a story?
I guess. I don't know. That one sounds like if it was a 6 out of 10, it sounds like it was mislabeled on Onyx.
Yeah.
In which case I would write to Onyx and be like, hey, I just checked out this trail. It should be like a 7 out of 10 or something, 8 or something. Yeah. So that would be my guesstimation.
I wonder how Onyx rates those. We should have Onyx on again and talk about, just do a trail
we do
rating
need to have them on, yeah.
Episode with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on it. Next one up. Tamarack Trevor.
Okay. Don't know.
Oh, haven't met the guy. Let's see what Tamarack Trevor is up to. He's from the 559.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Gonna get me in trouble here.
Hey, Tyler and Jimmy. This is Tamarack Trevor calling in today to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to split it up into 2 different voicemails just so I don't get cut off halfway through. The first thing I wanted to talk about is Meshtastic. So I know a little bit about Meshtastic, but not a whole lot. It was actually my friend who dove off the deep end. So I really got like a second exposure to Meshtastic from him. So if I use the wrong terminology, don't give me too much flack for it. First recommendation is that if you're curious about it, I'd recommend just dive into it. Go on to Amazon and buy a $30 or $40 Heltec or similar handheld device. Get that thing fired up and just see what there is out there for the world of Meshtastic. So in Sacramento, we have a really good mesh network currently. My buddy has a node that is on the 3rd floor of his condo, and with that single node, he could reach people all the way into San Francisco Bay and all the way up into the hills of Folsom Lake and beyond.
Wow.
It's quite impressive what you can reach with a single node.
Wow.
But I did want to touch on, when we do build a mesh network, how expensive this hobby can get, especially if you by yourself are building multiple nodes. Sure, your first node is going to be probably a cheap handheld, but as you dive deeper into the hobby, you're going to want to be leaving these nodes outside for months at a time. These nodes can get pretty pricey, upwards of $100 or $200. And maybe you're not a hands-on person and you actually want to buy a prefabricated node, maybe from a seller from Etsy. Those nodes can be upwards of like $400. So yeah, the more nodes that you build or buy yourself can really increase the price of this hobby. The last thing I wanted to touch on is actually more of a question for you, Tyler. If we do want to build a mesh network out on these off-roading trails we have in the areas, how would we go about deploying the nodes? Now, sure, you can do whatever you want on private property for getting these nodes up, but how would we deploy nodes on public property, say the U.S. Forest Service? Would we just be a bunch of rogue radio enthusiasts and deploy a node out on the ground and leave it out there for months at a time and hope that nobody kicks it or steals it? Or would we go through the proper channels, like reaching out to the U.S. Forest Service and seeing if we can get their blessing to even leave a node out there in the first place, or even build a structure to affix it to? I'd really love to hear your thoughts on that. All right, thanks, guys.
Tamarack Trevor.
Yeah.
There's an easy way and there's a correct way.
Yes.
They're not the same way.
No, they're not. Yeah, the easy way is, to set up a node in the middle of nowhere, you can literally, I would set it up like out on a ridge where most people are not going to be getting to. So I'd pick a difficult spot to get to deploy it. And you could probably deploy it in, I'm guessing, a medium-sized Sterilite tote.
What's a Sterilite tote?
Sterilite, the husky totes with the lids.
Okay. Like a Rubbermaid tote?
Rubbermaid tote, sure. Sterilite, whatever they are. The brands, whatever brand is your choice.
Okay.
So I would probably use one of those, put a battery in it, small solar panel deployment, and then an antenna built off of a mast of some kind. And then your node is in there and should be smaller than the battery. So, that's how I would do it.
You don't think it's powerful enough to go through the plastic, or you think the plastic, like if you put an antenna somehow inside the tote, do you think it's not strong enough to get out or in, or do you think that or you think it's just way better signal if you're out?
I just want to get the signal off the ground.
Okay.
So I would leave the tote on the ground and then have an antenna to get 6, 7, 8, 10 feet off the ground, something like that.
Sure.
And you can build J-pole antennas for these things.
That's what that's
I would
another nickname
imagine
you can have for me.
a J-pole. Jesus Christ. You can build a J-pole antenna that you can hang up in a tree. So you can essentially just throw it over a limb of a tree kind of thing. But because these are working up in the, I believe, 900 megahertz frequency range, the antennas are itty bitty tiny little things.
Yeah.
They'd be like, I don't know, an inch tall, maybe. So, I mean, really, if you just get that up in the air, should work great.
Okay. The problem with that would be like if you have the tote at the base of the tree and you get the antenna up in the tree, then you need the solar panel away from the tree because you're shaded at that point. So,
exactly.
Okay. So there's a little, either you need an antenna away a little ways away, or you need a solar panel a little ways away.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that's essentially what I do for Sierra Trek. That's what I do for King of the Hammers. Granted, we are permitted for Sierra Trek to have it. And King of the Hammers, there's a lot of other radio equipment on top of Fisher at that time. So it's easy to blend in, quote unquote. If you want to do it the right way, so that if anybody going by from Forest Service, say Forest Service, somebody at the Forest Service is weird like us and is into Meshtastic, and they look up Meshtastic nodes and they're like, there's 18 nodes in El Dorado National Forest.
Right.
We didn't put those there. What the hell are they doing? And then they go out and triangulate the radio signals, get the nodes and throw them away. That could be a problem for you. Right. So if you wanted their blessing on it, if you want to build a permanent structure, so this is the other process I went through with Tahoe National Forest. If you want to build a structure for it, they want you to go through a NEPA evaluation. And that's $250,000 to start. If you want to kind of put something out there, you have to go through their proper engineering and have it all signed off that you're not going to short out on the circuit. There's no potential to short out a circuit and create a forest fire from an electrical short in any of the equipment. And so they might bless you to do that and be able to set out a tote, antenna, and solar panel, etc., without needing a NEPA evaluation. Because you're not technically modifying the landscape in any way.
Maybe. Yeah.
If you're physically attaching anything to the landscape, then typically that's when they start requiring NEPA evaluations.
Got it.
And that's the big holdup of what holds a lot of things up.
Right.
So,
I hope
that answers your question.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think your better bet is to try and find private landowners that are very near that trail or where you want to be in that vicinity, and just see if you can get a contact with them and then put up maybe a small permanent structure or a tote and an antenna and solar panels, not anywhere near them, somewhere where they aren't going to see it. It's not going to need to be bothered, and just get their blessing on private property.
Yep.
That way would be maybe the safest and the easiest route to go.
One thing that now that we're talking about this, I have an idea. Light bulb. There are quite a few logging companies, We have two main logging companies up in the El Dorado National Forest area. Sierra Pacific Industries, they own a massive chunk of California. SPI. And then we have J&R Logging, which is a much smaller company compared to SPI. But you could approach logging companies who own lands around the trails that you're looking to cover and talk with the logging company and be like, you want to know where all your trucks are at any given time? Let's set up a mesh network around your property. And while I'm doing this, I'll do it for free for you if you let us use it and give your blessing, quote unquote, to use it for the off-roading trails nearby as well.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way for them to deny access. I haven't gone that far into Meshtastic to see if you can have like a white list of nodes and black lists of stuff. I imagine you can if it's all digital, but yeah, that would be another strategy you could use. Because a lot of times our off-road trails there's logging land within radio site.
Yes.
Of a lot of off-road trails. So that could be another strategy you could use because that is another problem that logging companies always are trying to find a solution for, and their current solution is satellite phones. And those cost a lot of money for logging companies to maintain and keep up and running at all times for not really needing to use it a whole lot.
Right.
So
unless they have the iPhone 16 now.
Unless they have the iPhone 16, so that may be their next solution for them. So
or Starlink.
Mm-hmm. Starlinks too. So yeah, I don't know. Meshtastic nodes with logging companies. You might be able to reach out to them and
there's probably a way around it other than working with the government. I think the logging companies might be a good idea. I think there's a lot of, like, hey, I'm going to pat your back if you pat mine situations that could be figured out. Call in, let us know what you think, or if you have any other ideas. Both Tyler and I have talked about how to throw it onto the Rubicon because we think that would be a good idea.
Yep. Last one for today, we'll do Tamarack Trevor's second phone call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Here we go.
Hey, Jimmy and Tyler. This is Tamarack Trevor calling back. Second thing I wanted to talk about today is DuroBumps in my truck. I wanted to say thank you for all the monthly giveaways that you do for your listeners. Back in November, I was fortunate enough to win a set of bump stops from DuroBumps.com. When I found out that I won, I was able to get into contact with the company owner, Curtis, and discuss exactly which bump stops I needed for my truck. And I also decided to purchase the U-Bolt flip kit to install that as well.
Cool.
I finally found the time to do the installation today, and I was very impressed by the build quality of the bump stops and how quick and easy it was to do the installation. If anybody's thinking about it, I'd highly recommend making the purchase. Being that last week, Zach from Oklahoma got to brag about his Tacoma, I kind of also wanted to brag about mine.
Perfect.
I have a 2015 Toyota Tacoma, so that makes it the last year of the second gens. And the color is Tyrite Mica, so that's the nice bronze color. I love it. It is a 4x4 SR5, and it's an access cab. So I have the suicide doors and the 6-foot bed. But I have the inline 4 engine in it. I don't have the V6. I got the little 4-banger. Currently has 200,000 miles on it, and it runs great. I drive this truck for work, and I drive about 40,000 miles a year in this truck, sometimes over 1,000 miles in a week. So really going to be using those bump stops. Anyways, just wanted to say thanks for everything that you guys do. Keep up the good work, and Toyota's rule. Have a good one.
I like it. All right, Tamarack Trevor, I know who you are.
Yeah, we know now.
Now we know who you are. Thanks for calling in. Congratulations on winning the DuroBumps contest there. And I'm glad everything worked out there well with Curtis and DuroBumps. So we thought that they were a cool company with a fun story and something we wanted to share with you guys. And everybody needs bump stops. So, it worked. It was a win-win-win for sure.
Yep. Cool. Well, that'll do it for today.
Sounds
for
good.
SnailMail.
And Trevor, we'll hide more pucks soon.
Yeah, soon. We have a whole box of them. I think we've got like 80 of them back there. We just need to do. So, cool. We'll do that, Trevor, for you. So you can go exploring some more. And anybody else can go exploring too that wants to go find them. So, let's see. I think that
I just figured out how we can do the pucks.
Okay.
We need Lee Lim's hand laser. I'll tell you more off air.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, then let's close up this episode because I want to talk about laser stuff. If you guys want to call in, leave us your feedback, please do. But wait a couple weeks because we have too many voicemails right now. So, which
love it.
Already good. No, we got 16 to go through next time. So we'll talk to you guys next Friday. Have a phenomenal weekend. Give us a call. We'll love chatting with you guys. 916-345-4744. Jimmy Jet. What are your 2 favorite words?
Peace out.
Yeah.
The number you have called has been disconnected.